is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
Excuse me as I rock on. That's Went Away by Dorothy Lane. Dorothy Lane out of Martinez, California. That's out of the Cut and Dry album. Check them out at DorothyLaneMusic.com. Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is Ruel Abadam. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing fine. Hope you're doing better than me. What's going on? A lot has happened. And maybe I'll talk about it. If you are a new listener, what's up? I'm Ruel Abadam. This is my silly show, Ruel's Running Podcast. Why is it called the Running Podcast? I started out kind of wanting to focus on running, and then quickly learned that it's hard to talk constantly about running. It gets kind of boring, in my opinion. I still run time to time, some periods more than others, and some periods not so much. Some periods longer distance, most distances not so much. And if you are a return listener, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. And let's get into it. What's cooking? Haven't done that in a while, it seems. What is cooking? Let's put a date on this thing. We are, March-ish, 29-ish. So we're at the tail end of March. And I guess this is the first week of spring, so I'm told. And it looks like it. It's really bright and sunny. Feels nice out under the sun, which is great. Current situation, kids are still remote learning, and kids were given the option to switch into a hybrid mode or stay completely remote when things had gotten safe enough, or when the government had said it's safe enough to actually do a hybrid type situations. But we're like, let's just keep rolling with the remote. We've been doing that for quite some time, and at any rate, it's really hard to say where things will be. So we're better to just sort of sit it out, wait it out. At any rate, why am I talking about school and what the current situation is? Well, the current situation is, in addition to the kids going to school remote, my wife and I are still working remote as well, and so are a lot of other people around here. So that means not only am I helping the kids with school, but I'm also the lunch lady. I'm the lunch lady, It used to be where I'd get up in the morning and make some breakfasts and pack some lunches for the kids to go to school. And that was it. But I don't have to do any of that. It's evolved to when lunchtime rolls around, we're either doing takeout, delivery, or I pick something up somewhere, or there's leftovers, or I cook something at home. so easy to just open an app and have food, order food to be delivered. But it gets boring, and it kind of don't want to do that all the time. And when the kids have lunch, it's not a lot of play. I mean, by the time the kids have a lunch break from the remote learning, businesses have just opened up, and or when the businesses do open up and I place an order, by the time the food gets delivered, it would be kind of late, for the kids to have their lunch. So, half of their lunch break would have been waiting for the food to show up. And unfortunately, the earliest and the fastest delivery we can get for the kids for their lunch period is McDonald's, because their proximity to us is not too far, and they open up earlier than some of these other places for lunch. So if we wanted something quick delivered, it would always be McDonald's, and that's why it's not so great. Once in a while, we'll do that, and then if there really is, if we're in a situation at home where we don't have anything to prepare, don't have the time, or we're just way too busy, unfortunately, that's sort of that'll be the go-to. Not ideal. So recently I cooked lunches at home. I just kind of put myself into chef mode, and I took out some frozen lumpia, Shanghai. Ted, if you're listening, I know, lumpia. Ted likes lumpia, guys. And whenever I bring up lumpia on the podcast, he has to ping me and let me know that he's heard the lumpia segment. So this is store-bought. It's a Filipino brand. It's called it's a Shanghai style. I don't know why it's called Shanghai style, and it's a Filipino style of lumpia, and it's pork, ground pork could be with shrimp, could be without, and it's seasoned, and it's wrapped up in a rice paper and cut up into small little pieces, about a couple inches to 3 inches of these rolls. You deep fry them. So I fried up 14 of those guys, and on a pan of bacon fat. Yummy. That way, no issue there. So I fried up some lumpia, and on a separate pan, in a big pan, I cooked up what's called ginisang. And I think ginisang is just is a Filipino word for sauteed, I think. So it was sauteed. There was a pork belly sliced and cut up into smaller pieces, sauteed in a pan of onion and garlic, and the recipe could have also called for tomatoes, but I didn't have the tomatoes in hand, so I just had the garlic and the onions going. Then I threw in the sliced pieces of pork belly, and I got that cooking pretty good. And when it was practically showing signs of browning, then I threw in, I sliced up, cut into smaller pieces, what's called bottle gourd or calabash, or in Filipinos know it as upo. And it's a fruit, and as I mentioned earlier, it's a type of fruit. It's a bottle gourd. It kind of resembles a squash, but it's not a squash. So I threw that in, and then I put in a bunch of liquid water into the pan. So by this time, the onions, the garlic, and the pork have gotten good and good and done, and with the liquid tossed in get that to a good simmer with the bottle gourd in it, with the fruit in it. And it isn't like a sweet fruit, guys. And it's, I don't know how to describe its flavor. But, yeah, so with the liquid and the fruit in there, I mean, it's identified, when you're eating, you're thinking you're just having more vegetables. But, like a lot of these vegetables, they're technically fruits. Get that water simmering with the fruit in it, and it helps cook the fruit. It's so weird to call it a fruit because it's always felt to be a vegetable to me. Then I throw in some shrimp into the pot, however you like your shrimp. We happen to have some good sized shrimp that was already cooked and frozen. So, if it weren't, then, I'd let it cook in the simmering pot with all that liquid. So at this point, it was put the shrimps in, cover it up, and let it sort of heat up enough to cook the bottle gourd and to heat up the shrimp. And once that was all done, season to taste fish sauce. So salt, pepper, fish sauce, and let that all kind of heat up and simmer and get good. And that was pretty much it. That went on. On the side, I was cooking the lumpia, and then on another pan, I was heating up some leftover steaks from last night. There were cuts from a chuck roast, and that I had cooked the night before over some salt and pepper, and over a little bit of butter in the pan, and just get it nice and charred on the cast iron pan. Then sliced it up into thick kind of cross cuts and heated up some more. My son really likes the steaks to be seared pretty good, charred in a way. So, and then on a side, I cooked up a new pata, steamed rice. So I managed to get all of that going and done, I think, for like in 20 minutes or something like that. It was pretty quick. If my mindset is right, in the kitchen, then I'm like an octopus. I'm kind of multitasking a whole bunch of stuff. I feel like I'm a cook in a restaurant. But I didn't eat any of it.
Do you need a website? If you're an individual, a consultant, a group, or small business and need a site, or maybe you have an existing site, I can help. How about graphic design? Do you need a design for a t-shirt, logo, product, business cards? Maybe you need help with designing and developing a brand. I'm not an expert, but I do have the tools and the techniques to get the job done. How about a podcast? Yep, like this thing. This thing's a silly little show. Are you looking to set up a podcast of your own? Are you looking to reach an audience? Promote your business via podcast? Well, Abadam Studios. That's right, Abadam Studios. Yeah, so that's Abadam Studios. AbadamStudios.com, AbadamStudios.com. Check it out.
It's so easy for me to kind of fast through the day. And it's been kind of an effort for me to be more mindful about getting food in because I'm not hungry. I have to intentionally get myself to eat through the day, at reasonable times in the day for the nutrition. It used to be where, let's fast, and fasting's cool. Fasting, wow, look at me, I'm fat adapted. I can operate without having a bunch of food to eat, which is great, which is fine. But whenever you break your fast and you're not getting in the nutrients and the vitamins and all those things that your body needs, and your body's going to need different things depending on your body, depending on your activities too, you may find yourself, if you're not eating right, kind of cutting yourself short, putting yourself in a situation where you're low on certain nutrients. So, whenever you break your fast, and if you're just having like low density edible junk, then you can stand to optimize. So yeah, for me, I need to actually make sure that I don't dip into ketosis. It's so easy to dip into ketosis when I've started the year primarily carnivore, right? And I had learned to just eat, meat-based. And it was just too easy, muscle meats, organ meats, even had dairy and things like that. And meat, fish, dairy, and meet my my needs as far as when I'm hungry, and not craving anything else. So easy to fall into ketosis and be basically zero carb, and I'm unfortunately, in the rare group to suffer through Prurigo Pigmentosa, aka keto rash. Apparently there's a study documented, or there's some information documented on somewhere like PubMed or something about how the condition Prurigo Pigmentosa, or the keto rash, cases have been documented. A pregnant woman, and it has to do with the hormones and all those things. The rash does come, does go. And another case was an Asian male who was in ketosis. He was in ketosis for therapeutic reasons, but experienced the rash. And from all the information I've read, some speculate that, it's the ketones, it's the acetone, sort of like that's produced in the body. It's kind of coming its way out of the skin, and it's causing an irritation. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna how do you neutralize acetone? You can't, right? You can't neutralize acetone, isn't it a? Anyways, so the thought was you could try to apply some topical steroid creams, but information indicates that doesn't work, and I've actually tried. It doesn't work. And the other is, don't kick yourself. Don't stay in ketosis. So that was the idea for me, because I've gotten a rash or two in the past when I was pretty strict NSNG, and I must have put myself into ketosis long enough to develop the rash. And this time I was really kind of intense with being carnivore. That put me in a really deep ketogenic state. And I felt fine. The only issue was just the rash. So I'm consuming, I brought back steamed rice into my diet, which, I had done for so long. That was the only exception while I was NSNG, and still been fine. And I've also been having the berries. I did cut dairy, I did cut nuts. So when I used to do the heavy whipping cream and the frozen berries and all this other stuff. I would put full fat Greek yogurt. I'd even put cream cheese, and I'll throw in like almond nut butter and even some whole raw almonds and, sprinkle with cinnamon. I would do this whole thing as like a treat at the end of the day, right before bed. But because of the rash and, experiencing flare-ups now and again, I figured maybe it's something that I'm eating that's causing the flare-ups and I got to quit it. So mid-March, I quit dairy and nuts. So I can't have any heavy cream with my frozen blueberries. So I've been doing coconut milk or coconut cream. Not the same, but, I'm learning to enjoy it. And I'm not putting any nut butters or nuts in it. So it's kind of like, but I'm viewing carbs differently now. That there is a benefit to having carbs. And I had gone on the idea like, what? I'm carnivore and I'm practically zero carbs and my body is going to convert whatever protein I consume into the glucose it needs as it needs it. I think in general, that happens, but I think it happens best when you're not having any sort of metabolic issues, right? Maybe like for me, maybe my whole gluconeogenesis sort of system is not working as optimal as it would in theory, because I was starting to feel like, wow, I'm zero carbs, holy cow, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and just count on my body making whatever it needs. I'll track ketones and and my glucose, and everything's fine. But I do wonder, like, other than fat storage, the role insulin plays. Like, I wonder what other roles insulin plays, right? Could insulin play a part in other ways, right? If not insulin, maybe it's the glucose. Maybe if my ability to produce the right amount of glucose for my body's needs isn't happening because whatever, maybe my system's kind of out of whack, then maybe I need to sort of encourage more with carbs. I don't know, by consuming carbs. But yeah, at the end of the day, I need to kick myself out of ketosis long enough to hopefully see this rash go away, allow my skin to heal, and then try all over again, see what happens. But, yeah, as it stands, I'm still dealing with it, and it's been rough. But on the bright side, I've been having to enjoy sweeter foods, and I'm not fearful or concerned about packing on weight and having sugar cravings if I were to have, let's say, some raw, organic, unfiltered honey as a treat, and with my berries, and also having reintroduced steamed white rice with my meals. I'm sort of embracing these types of carbs. I'm not going for bread. I'm not going for big old baked potatoes, and we'll see where it goes from there. Yeah, pretty crazy. Other than that, like, my weight-wise, body composition-wise, I'm pleased. I'm now like 4 months, free of having drank any alcohol. So, I'm good to go. Oh, I need to take a break. Yeah. So interesting journey. I've been playing with more sort of a meat-based focus to nutrition, and all that means is trying to understand the nutrition around meat
and organs, the carnivore, not just carnivore, because some people will just think of carnivore as it's the opposite of being a vegan, right? I'm learning that, just like in the vegan community, there are also idiots in the carnivore community. What I'm learning is I've been guilty of being sort of dogmatic around foods and very, very kind of naive and with things like the elimination of certain things, meaning I can be meat-based, whatever you call it, meat-based, carnivore, whatever. But as a friend has said in his documentary, Fat a Documentary and Fat to a Documentary, why does it have to be either or? Why does it have to be all vegetation only or all meats only? Why can't it be vegetables and meat, or meat and vegetables, right? And then there are parts of the sort of the meat-based community who are like, well, there are issues with plants that you need to be aware of, and I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, there's a certain level of plant toxicity present, and which is why there are elimination diets and things like AIP, the autoimmune protocol, which is more of like it's sort of like an elimination diet for folks who are paleo. Paleo meaning, you want to sort of eat like our ancestors did, right? In quotes. And all that means to me is that you want to eat like our ancestors. Our ancestors ate meat, but they also ate vegetables. So when it comes with AIP, it's recognizing there are a set of foods, primarily plant-based, and even some meat-based stuff like the dairy, that have been known to be triggers of some allergic response. So identify all of the types of foods that have been known to create some sort of autoimmune response or allergic response, and just take those out of your diet. And identify the ones that haven't or don't, and then include those in your diet. That's pretty much what it is. And then, methodically reintroduce a thing at a time, just to see how you handle it. Do you get inflammation? Do you get gut distress? Do you get gas, diarrhea, bloating, pain, swelling, blah, blah, blah? So, I'm just ranting and I can't get my thoughts straight. But, being dogmatic. I started off the year thinking, I'm just going to eat meat from now on, and fish and dairy, and I'm going to be good because my body's going to, produce all of its, glucose needs or glycogen needs through gluconeogenesis. It's going to convert proteins I eat. But the reality is, I may not have consumed enough of the right stuff to allow my body to not, fall short, and I feel like I've fallen short because of things like getting this keto rash, right? Is there things that I missed in my feeding window, in quotes, my feeding window? Whenever I ate food, did I eat the right stuff? Did I eat enough of the right stuff? Also, did I also eat too much of anything that had suddenly become the wrong stuff? So I'm in this period where, like I mentioned, I'm eliminating some things that are known to be allergens for folks. But what I did do is I did start consuming organ meats like liver and heart, and I tried spleen, but I'm not a big fan. I've had more heart and liver, and I've ran out of heart. I've just completely ran out of heart. I've got to order some heart. I do have liver, and I've been ordering meats from a couple places. I've ordered once from a place called U.S. Wellness Meats. I've ordered once from a place called Bel Campo. Some places have cuts of meat and organs that I enjoy, and some places not so much. Some places have cuts of meat that I enjoy, organs I mean, and others not. So I don't know if it can be consistent. Like this last batch of beef liver from U.S. Wellness Meats, fantastic. I could just eat it, literally just eat it, and not have any issues like I would having beef liver from other places where it's hard to sort of take in. But for some reason, the batch that I had from U.S. Wellness Meats, God, it's so good. And so been playing around with my food a lot. Been talking about food a lot. Stop it. What else is going on? So I guess I covered food, and I guess I covered a bit of health. Current status, I guess I cook stuff. Current status, health-wise, I'm good, but I'm also not good. But I'm more good than not good. If my only issue right now is a rash, then I just gotta figure out the rash. Speaking of finding things out on health, I've been using this service called Let's Get Checked. So I did 2 tests with them, and I could use if you have a flexible spending account for medical stuff or health stuff, then some of these places you could actually use your spending account. So I used my FSA card for buying a couple tests. The first test I bought was a male hormone test, and they're not sponsors of the show, but I just like to talk about stuff, so there I go. Did a male hormone test, and the way it works is you order the kit. I use my flexible spending account. Got the kit at home, and then you certain times of the week, certain times of the day is when they recommend you actually provide your blood sample, and you need to be able to drop it off via shipping on the same day you kind of take your sample, so that it can get to the lab on time for them to run and give you results. So essentially, so far these past 2 tests, the second test was a micronutrient test. So providing the sample was identical. They want you to prep your finger and clean it, and then provide you make sure that you've got blood circulating at its maximum. By how would you do that? Like maybe run warm water over your hand and kind of massage your palm and all that good stuff. So basically, it's taking a lancet, pricking the tip of your finger, and then dropping several drops of blood into a small vial until you get to the appropriate level of blood in the vial. Seal it, and then you shake it a few times to actually get the blood treated, so that it could be shipped and tested. That's pretty much it. So the first test, the male hormone
Everything seemed fine except that I was coming across high on one of the hormones. I think it's one of the hormones that if I was like really, really high on, I'd be able to breastfeed your child. Apparently, it's like a female hormone. So apparently, males carry both types of sort of like male hormone and female hormone. There's a low level of female hormone that men carry, so yeah. Testosterone, I'm fine. It's just I'm measuring a little bit, just a little tad bit high off of the normal range for this female hormone. So there you go. The podcast community knows now that, I'm on the verge of being able to breastfeed. And then the second test was the micronutrients. So I got those test results today. Yeah, so I'm showing high on 3 areas. It would be magnesium, which is interesting because I've always been told that magnesium is something to be deficient in. Most folks are deficient in. I'm also showing up high in selenium. And I'm showing high. Where else am I showing high? I can actually look at the results. Showing high. I moved my app into a different folder. So what did I say? Magnesium. Magnesium is high. Selenium is high. I'm also high on... There's 2 types of vitamin E's. There's the alpha tocopherol and the gamma tocopherol. So I'm showing high on the alpha tocopherol. So, I don't know what those mean. Copper is normal, zinc is normal, vitamin B12 is normal, vitamin E, the gamma tocopherol is normal. I am showing low on vitamin D, and that I can easily supplement for. But with spring, and then hopefully I can just get more sun. How about that? So yeah, I thought it was interesting, and I get the results in an app, so I can look at them and I could deal with them. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. You can run so many other tests. You can buy so many other test kits, have it sent home, and get yourself done. You mean like you can get a coronavirus home kit. You can get a colon cancer screening test. You can get a thyroid antibody test. And when you shop around, you can actually see what the biomarkers that a test kit is looking for. For example, when it's the thyroid antibody test, the kit will test for thyroid, the TSH, the FT4, FT3, the TGAB, and the TPO/TPEX. So, if you're into tracking your thyroid antibodies, that's what you could do. Yeah. So that's that.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.